Okay, so this video is about the solution to efficient and explosive growth using viral ads in 2023. So this is for agency owners. You might have a high ticket service business, you might run a B2B company, or you might have an info product. So this basically works across industries, ideally just with high ticket stuff, although it does work with low ticket stuff as well. So what we're looking at here is the empire business. So we're not talking about the Met business or the money business. We're not talking about any type of business apart from the empire business. So if you want me to help you get into the empire business, then book a call here. I'll leave the link somewhere on this video. But we're talking about Walter White. We're talking about empire business here. So you can see here, this is a lot of money. That's the guy from Breaking Bad. But basically, so we're looking here, 150K pipeline. This is one of my clients. Closing 4K deals left and right in the span of a couple of weeks, about 16 days. There's another one of my clients getting 15K MRR in 3 weeks. Is a two-step post. This is a viral ad that we had here, 100K views. There's another viral ad that we had, 102K views. So we can talk about who this is for. So this is for people who identify as the LeBron James of their market. So the greatest for a long time. This is not for someone who's, just like a role player. This is for someone who's at the peak of their market. They deliver killer services. They love recessions because, they destroy pretenders. And let me just put myself over here. They love the recessions because they destroy pretenders and ensure that only the strong survive. So it's actually ideal when there's harsh market conditions because they know that they can that you can just survive. You're going to win either way. Because no matter what happens, you always want to be the most efficient and effective in the market. That's very, very key. When you learn things, you're typically the type of person that executes right away because you're just built that way. You're the type of person who wants to build a big business that earns millions. So you have plans to sell it eventually or at least create a cash flow machine while you're at it. So you're the type of person that wants to call yourself a millionaire. You want to look in the bank and see commas on commas on commas. You want to just look in there and just feel absolute security that you have that cash and it's there and it's yours. And you want that recognition. You want people around you, family, friends. They look at you as the person who did that, the person who made it. You want to provide for that family. Maybe you want to send them to private school, or you have a spouse that you want to look after and prevent them from stress. And maybe you want to get them out of work, or you have a parent who, you want to look after, et cetera, et cetera. You want to provide more opportunities for your family. This is the type of person that this video is going to resonate with because you understand that there's probably more to life than just working for someone else, working in a regular business. You want the flexibility that a big business provides, but you're also the type of person that's taken the risk to take it upon themselves. Let me put all this stress on my back and try and lift people up. Because you want to feel proud and you want to help people. And it's kind of a double thing there where you want to feel that pride, but you also want to help people at the same time. So, maybe you want to contribute to some social causes, you want to contribute to some charities, et cetera, et cetera. But the problem is that you are not getting the resonance from the market that you thought you were going to get. So you're not getting that, people jumping up and down when they come into contact with your solution and, feeling like the work, time and energy that you're spending, I don't want to say it would be wasted, but you feel like you're spinning your wheels at times because you're unable to generate the demand and the leads and fill the pipeline. And you're feeling a little bit anxious at times because you're committed to the growth goals, but it's not always looking like you're going to hit them. So sometimes you're worried about where that next deal is going to come from. And you're almost frustrated with yourself. You're lying up at night wondering where that next deal is because, you're holding yourself to such a high level of accountability and you have such high standards for yourself that you want to make. So, you might have tried some cold email, you might have done some organic stuff, or maybe built a funnel or a sales team before, and you're not doing bad. You're doing well for yourself. As I said, this is the LeBron James of your market, but you still have those creeping thoughts of, not being quite good enough and where the next deal is going to come from. And you really want to push. This is not for people that, aren't really looking to scale. This is for people that really push the envelope. They hold themselves to the highest level of accountability and they are looking to get the most out of themselves and their potential skill set. So the goal of this video is to essentially teach you exactly how to get meetings, close them more efficiently, get operations that are going to scale, and then have a system that's actually going to be able to bring in clients super, super efficiently for really low costs, leveraging tech and AI. So we're going to actually show you the exact marketing process, the exact sales process, the exact way to systematize the process as well so you can scale. So this is going to be a bit more of a free course than, any type of video. And it's probably worth five figures. So let's just get that out of the way. We want to get into the juice, but first we want to identify what's happening in the market right now. So you have to be aware that after a period of extreme growth, there has to be atrophy in the market. So there simply has to be what goes up must come down. So we've seen this time and time again across history. We're seeing this with the Great Depression, oil crisis in the 70s. We're seeing this with periods of war that occur, 2008, et cetera, and most recently in the 2020, 2021 pandemic, where the 17-year-olds were buying cryptos and making more than doctors. It's outrageous. Businesses are appearing from thin air with zero regard for margins, company valuations moving artificially, unsustainably high inflation, et cetera, not to mention SBF acting up in the Bahamas and all the crazy stuff that was happening almost weekly at this point. It's almost like every other week there's something new crazy with the banks failing, and it's like a doomsday scenario almost. And that's not even to consider the introduction of AI, which is simply a bubble of unfathomable potential that any savvy business owner is going to be using to completely take over their industry. Basically, everything is just absolutely crazy. And we almost need to take a step back and just say, okay, what's going on here? Because at this point, almost a healthy recession is mandatory to bring people back down from freaking Pluto and restore some order to the economy, because it just seems like things are going left, right, and center. What's going on? So as a result of all this stuff, the great P word and constant money printing by our friends in the government, businesses are forced to use a new technology to maintain profitability. So this has been seen in the online platforms, social media, different uses of ads, et cetera, and organic stuff as well. So the best of the best are actually using this scenario where the world seems like it's under so much stress, and actually using this in their favor to increase the gap between them and the pretenders that we talked about at the start of the video. So whilst the lower end are actually getting squeezed out and exposed because the traffic is too expensive and they can't grow an audience, there's a moat and they're on the outside of it. So the lower end's getting squeezed out and the upper end and the gap is increasing. So the other prominent trend that we're seeing is that everybody's screen time is going through the roof. So this is me included. No one's immune to this. If you've got kids, you probably see them on the phones. You see kids playing on their iPads at the dinner table. They might be going to a sports game and they're still, they're on their phones. Everyone's just increasing their screen time at the moment and spending more and more time with Zuckerberg in the metaverse. So what this means is, at the base level, we must focus on the most profitable segment on the market, as well as use these channels that are going to drive the most revenue. So these metaverse channels, these AI channels, all this technological stuff, we're simply going to be forced to integrate with these things moving forward. So that's Meta, that's Google, that's YouTube. All of these things are where the money is going to be going forward. So at a customer level, what we need to do is review every single client and prospect and categorize them all based on a profit per unit of time input required to get result. So profit per unit of time input to get a result. So how much is it costing us for us to deliver the result, and how much are we making? So essentially at the product level, what this requires to be acquired is traffic at cheap rates. We need eyeballs, and we need them cheaply. So what this means is the only option is to run ads for as cheap as possible. We simply need to get these eyeballs, and we can't be paying too much because there's not enough efficiency in the market yet. So with that, to do that, we need to supplement those ads with the organic content and push that to go viral and sell at the same time. But now, thanks to the influx of online gurus selling the same strategies in their ad courses, where everyone knows how to push an ad, traffic is more expensive than ever. So businesses, it's kind of getting competitive at the advertising level. So competition is actually at an all-time high, and therefore the markets and algorithms have become deeply sophisticated. So the competition really, really takes place at the copywriting level. So how do you guarantee yourself to win? Seems hard, but the truth is you can achieve a capital efficient and explosive growth, find product market fit, and make a hilarious 50 to 100x ROI on your advertising in any environment for any offer if you leverage viral ad content with a rigid distribution and sales process. So some viral ads that you might know, you'll see this guy. If you're in the internet marketing space, you'll know him, Tai Lopez. Look up Tai Lopez ad on YouTube if you haven't seen it, and it is pretty iconic. This one, $100 million offers. Alex Hormozy, that is another classic in the internet space. Expert Secrets, another classic. And if you don't know any of them, I'm sure that you'll know this one. Viral ad. This is a viral sales letter, the Holy Bible, probably the most viral of all time. And what you'll note is that not all of these are just ads. It's not something you're seeing on the TV screen or on a billboard. These are actually just pieces of content that are designed to go to mass market and indoctrinate the reader to believe what the writer needs them to believe. So I'll read that again. So there are pieces of content that are designed to go to the mass market. They're going to everyone, and they're basically installing a set of beliefs in the reader. So you notice that in the Bible, it's persuasion at scale. So all these people that are reading the Bible, it's getting pushed on by the readers. They're sharing it around, and they're spreading the word of the Bible. So all of a sudden, all these beliefs are getting spread throughout the market. So how many times have you heard someone give a referral about something like $100 million offers or expert secrets or the Bible? We've literally got people that crusade spreading the word of the Bible. So that's the power of the viral ad. That's what we're trying to harness here. So it's the process of the beliefs that you need people to hold being distributed throughout your target market for low or no cost. So you can imagine how valuable that would be, especially when you consider that these have been operating behind the scenes the entire time. So at this point, we actually need to define what constitutes a viral ad. What even is this thing? We need a bit more clarity about this. So a viral ad is a single sales letter or ad that targets a specific market segment for a specific offer that has viral effects, so it's getting shared, that drops the cost per 1,000 impressions, so it's cheap, that lasts for years, that decreases the sales cycle length and the cost to sell, that drops the resources required to train and ramp the salespeople, that decreases the overhead required to run sales and marketing, all resulting in extreme capital efficiency and explosive growth. So it's sales done with a single video instead of an entire orchestra of salespeople. So it is pretty much the most efficient vehicle for scale on the market by a large margin. Because when you combine the drop in cost to sell, the drop in CPM, and a drastic increase in conversion rate, you can pretty much create an insanely valuable asset in your business. So the level of the demand that gets generated actually forces the product to adapt as well over time, so you can increase the price because you're getting so much demand. So that then again increases the ROI. The best of the best are going to be using this strategy to scale over time because it's the only way to completely wipe out the market and obliterate everyone else and get the keys to the castle. So you can see this guy, he's got the keys to the castle, he's smiling, he's pretty happy. And the key is the viral ad. So if done right, a single ad can either make or break the entire business. So it doesn't even matter if it's B2B, if it's B2C, if it's B2P, it is not relevant. Everyone can be persuaded and everyone wants to consume the viral ad because of how compelling and valuable it is. Well, you can chuck in things to make it more so. So I've actually found that there is a correlation between the esteem of the buyer going up. So business owners, we're talking about venture capitalists, high IQ types of people, actually increases the likelihood that they want to be sold via video or via content. So obviously they may still have questions and want to get on a chat or get on a call with someone, but at the peak, it's just going to be via chat. There's not even going to be a sales rep. It's just going to be, there's not going to be a call. It's just going to be a text message. So once they buy into the thesis, it really just becomes asking a few questions so they can feel that inner confidence when they're going to pull the trigger. Because basically, who even wants to be talked at by some sleazy sales rep using some objection handling, Jedi mind tricks, Belfort techniques to try and get them to buy when they just want more info? So I talk to business owners all the time, and they don't want to get on the phone with a junior sales rep. They're not going to be the CEO of the company. It's just they're just trying to farm info. They basically just want to know the price, and they're going on these calls, and they're all of a sudden getting sort of almost tried to be tricked into buying. It never works that way. So we want our sales reps to get on the call and take orders, and then spend the rest of their time prospecting and finding new deals and following up with the other leads using the sales letter. That is what we need. We don't need sales reps to use mind tricks and Jedi mind hacks. It doesn't work that way. It's not efficient. The way you do this is actually by combining the gravitational pull of the viral ad that generates like quote unquote hot girl demand, where people just come from everywhere and try and get close. They just want a piece, with the high level persuasion of the master copywriter. So if we can do that and get the gravitational pull, as well as using that asset as a persuasive masterpiece, all of a sudden nothing else matters except this one singular asset that acts as a vessel for the entire business to expand from. So the viral ad then becomes the marketing, the sales process, the training for the employees, the mission statement, the fulfillment, the content marketing, pretty much everything. But the problem is that up until now, nobody has figured out basically the formula to reliably deliver these viral dynamic sales letters, these viral dynamic ads, and also consistently drive mass market traffic. But before I spill this, here's why you should listen to me. So here's basically the introduction to me. Basically, my name is Leo Moore. I grew up in Melbourne, Australia, played a ton of Aussie football growing up. I actually tried and failed to go pro. I tore my hamstring two or three or four times trying to play at pretty high level amateur. Won a bunch of games at a pretty high level, and then I became vice captain of a big school, the captain of the football team as well. That was great fun. We won the premiership in my last year. I scored top 3.3% on my final state exams before going into a law degree, and then essentially just threw it all the way to go all in on online business, online sales, online marketing processes. And since then, I've pretty much built a bunch of sales processes for a bunch of great people in online businesses, made some good cash, and met a ton of absolute legends in that process. So at the start, I had to grind to get as good as humanly possible. And eventually, I've now reached the point where I am now, where I've sold almost everything under the sun. So I've sold marketing agency packages, I've sold fitness tech, AI, coaching, masterminds, pretty much everything under the sun. I've sold it at some point in time. So the problem with this is that almost none of these businesses that I was selling for were able to implement a system like the one I will describe in a second for themselves. So I kept having to try and get on these calls with these prospects and do these Jedi mind tricks, and it just didn't work. My results suffered. They had no idea what I was offering. I had to try and convince a completely cold prospect to buy. And every other sales guy would just continually try and get better at closing and, learn these new objection handling tactics to close more deals, which makes sense. It's the logical thing to do, is you have to get better at sales to close more deals. But in my head, it just never made sense. I just had to figure it out. So what I did was I started implementing a few pre-call systems here and there. Maybe, I'll send a personalized loom, or, send a voice message to a prospect before a call, and trying out VSLs and getting into that space where I could try and warm them up before I even got to the call. I kept iterating, see if it worked. And, I kept running into the problem. They would just give me the same objections. They weren't watching it. They didn't really want to be there. They just wanted the price. They wanted to know what it was. And then essentially I just realized how much easier it was to close those clients that were coming inbound versus those clients that had not been indoctrinated. They're coming from cold. You send one cold email, you send one cold call, and they get on the call. It just doesn't work. So basically what I needed to create was a process that even from cold traffic that were coming into the call, indoctrinated with what I needed them to believe. Does that make sense? So I needed them to come to the call holding the beliefs of a buyer already. That's what I needed to implement. So what I did was I paid it for a bit of coaching on the topic and started applying an advanced protocol for my clients. So I'd sort of implemented a bit of it, and it was going okay and it was doing well. And then I basically poured fuel on the fire. So basically straight after that, one of my clients made 40K in 16 days and the other added 15K MRR in 3 weeks. So after that, I was like, okay, this works. And then I doubled down. But that's enough about me. So now we can get to the juice. I don't want to delay it any further. So you can see some secret juice is about to be applying. Look at that, guys. Pretty jacked. Young Arnold. Works well. So essentially the viral ad creation process looks like this. So we've got a couple of steps here. So we're looking at the laser offer, the initial testing, the sales letter creation, the sales process, the operations, the gasoline that we need to throw on the fire. Then we need to ramp up, and then we need to scale once this whole system is validated. So the first thing that we need to look at here is the laser offer. So something that's going to pierce through the market and also target the high end. So we don't want to target these small retainers that aren't going to be barely profitable. We need the marketing messaging to resonate. And if it's not resonating, your offer's going to book less calls and you're going to close deals less often, which no one wants. You're going to end up with low-end customers and get worse results, and they are also harder to deal with. So the other problem is that you're not even making profit from these unideal engagements as well. So nobody's winning when you target the low end and you don't have good marketing messaging. So ideally, you're not going to get it wrong, but let's say you do get it wrong, you're going to spend months trying to figure out what the problem is. You're going to think you have a sales problem. You're going to think you have a lead problem or a fulfillment problem, when in reality, you just have an offer problem. So the first thing that we need to do is get it right from the start. So we need to rapidly find product market fit and print cash from the sky. That's the ideal scenario. So to do that, you focus on one segment of the market, the one that is going to promote the highest level of profitability for the lowest possible investment from the business side, because we want to maintain margins and maintain agility. So for that to happen, the offer needs to be a direct response to the market and their current desires, dreams, fears, frustrations, etc. So what we need to do is literally derive that from what the market say, think, believe, and feel. So just get that clear. It needs to be literally derived from what they say, think, and feel, and believe. So at times, people have gotten away with it simply by being from their target market. So they might have been a customer of something like this, and then they grow and make their own solution, and then sell to that market that they used to reside in. But you can also quickly fall short without, dialing this in, because, the market changes, things happen, et cetera, and you might not be as dialed in as you may have thought. So, for example, I look at, in Australia, we've got a lot of snakes, and the people that die from snake bites aren't actually the people that go to the hospital and say, I don't know which snake bit me, a snake, I don't know what it was. They actually end up surviving because the hospital will give them the general antivenom. They'll do the diligence, and they'll give them every single antivenom. But then the people that actually suffer quite badly from the snake bites are the ones that will go to the hospital and say, I know it was a brown snake. I got bitten by a brown snake for sure. They end up getting the brown snake antivenom. And then what happens is they end up passing away, or, some bad complications, because that wasn't the actual snake that bit them. They were getting they got targeted by something that wasn't that. So they missed. So it's much better to do your diligence and do it right the first time than guess and try and, I know I'm from that market, I understand it. You need to be dialing this in. It's very important. So if you are selling something that has a high competition or high sophistication, your best bet here is to find a new angle that focuses on wherever the previous offers in the market fell short. So you need to be aware of all these offers. So you need to go through and look at the stages of sophistication and the claim. So this is from Eugene Schwartz, Breakthrough Advertising. I think it was 1966. So if you're the first to market and the new claim, that's great. If you're the second to market, an elaboration of the claim. If you're third to market and the emphasis on the mechanism, or you're fourth to market and elaboration of the mechanism, i.e. better, faster, cheaper, or if you're fifth to market and focus on identification with the prospect. So we need to determine where we're at, which stage. For example, what you might have seen was some of the old sales trainings gave sales a bit of a bad reputation as, sleazy, or they might have been pushy. And then the mechanism was broken because people would get on the phone with a sales rep, and like I said, they're getting Jedi mind tricked into buying some stuff that they didn't really want to buy. So therefore, the newer sales trainings actually focus on closing deals without pushy sales tactics. So you can see there where the mechanism broke before. It's basically a response to the market. We need to fix the mechanism and do it better. So examples in the online space might be, you've seen short form content, lead generation, and email marketing, 3 of the most popular businesses of the last couple of years. New mechanisms for each of those might be using TikTok SEO, or building sales funnels, or using direct response in email marketing. Because if you need to introduce a new vehicle to get that interest and sort of pierce through the market, like I was saying with the laser messaging. So essentially, you should already have a decent awareness of where the market's at. But what you want to do is have an offer and a mechanism that completely obliterates the market. So we don't want to say, we might be at step 3. Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I know it's here. We just want to say, forget that. Let's just take it all the way and have a absolutely killer offer. Use a new mechanism, use the new technology that we have, and just obliterate the market. So an example of that is how to go from a beginner to a killer remote closer in 2 months using sales psychology being the new mechanism. The other one is this application is only for people who are interested in building a high-ticket e-commerce business to 10K a month in the next 24 weeks. So the new mechanism there is high-ticket e-commerce businesses, because no one does that. So a key note is, again, you don't want to compete. Everyone else is out here playing, rock, paper, scissors. They throw up the rock, paper, scissors, and then you just come through with a bulldozer and take all the candy. You just win, because that's what you do. You just win. So if you want to do that and you want to just take all the candy and just completely bulldoze the whole market, what you need to do is talk to people about your offer. So if that's current clients, if that's prospects, if that's network, if that's low ticket groups that you join, if that's a mastermind group that you join, might be a conference, you want to talk to these people and actually take notes. So you want to test this marketing messaging as well. Because again, we don't want to guess. You don't want to be the guy that goes to the hospital and says, it's a brown snake that bit me. And then it's actually, a rattlesnake. And then all of a sudden things go wrong, your messaging is wrong, and you're completely off. So you want to use these groups and these prospects that you're talking to, take the notes, and then go and test, because you don't want to be wrong. You don't want to draw a false positive. So if you have an audience on social media, you can do this pretty easily, or you can use cold emails, or you can use ads as well. So in this scenario, we can use pretty much anything. So you want to get cold, hard evidence about what is relevant and what is irrelevant. So when you're jumping on sales calls, you're iterating the offer and the sales letter to both handle new objections and then also ensure that it's airtight with this testing. And again, don't be too hasty to jump to conclusions. So we can actually use a calculator like this one, SurveyMonkey, which is in the document, to determine the significance of the data. So for example, if you send 100 emails and one message gets one response and the other one gets 3, that's not really a significant result. So you can see here there's not enough correlation compared to sending a thousand messages. So if we do this and one gets 10 and one gets 30 responses positively, obviously, then the second test actually is the one that creates a significant result. So we need to make sure that we're doing this. So it might be, a bit more difficult to conduct a larger test in some scenarios, but the significant results are infinitely more valuable than the speculative ones. Because if we come to a false conclusion up here and our messaging is completely off, we might waste a lot of money on ads. We might, falsely hire. We might, target the completely wrong market. When in reality, all we needed to do was conduct a bit of a larger test to avoid that scenario. So again, if you want to compete with the people down the bottom at the market, keep guessing. Keep, just taking a punt and just saying, yep, I reckon it's that. Because if you want to do that, awesome. This video is probably not for you and you can stop watching. But if you want to be the best, treat your testing like it is your firstborn. Okay. So when you're getting on these calls as well, so people are coming to the calls, you want to ask them these things. So you're running a discovery process. So deepest desires, what's keeping them up at night, what's frustrating, what are they angry at, what have you tried before, why did it not work, what trends are in the market, what's a dream scenario, what does hell look like, and what, for a solution to work, what does it need to include? Because these people are literally giving you the answers to the test, and then you can just write down the answer to the test and then use that in your messaging. Because that's the answer to the test. That's how you get an A+. That's how you build an A+ solution. And then once you continually develop that over time, you're going to be able to maintain a profitable state. So again, you don't want to compete. While everybody else is playing rock, paper, scissors, you want to come in with the bulldozer and just take all the candy. Yeah, like Mr. Burns is saying, you just want to take candy from a baby. You don't want to get anywhere near the market. You want to obliterate. So once you have it, once you have this candy, you can develop the laser messaging. So now your outbound messages are going to actually work. So again, not only that, you're going to have immediate profit because large competitors struggle with focus and have a blind spot. So going after these blind spots in the market ensures a zero competition environment and absolute blue ocean for you to operate in. So a competitor will watch what you're doing and then opt to compete with you afterwards or buy you if you are successful. So you actually have an edge to the point where they're going to have to watch and look in from the outside. You're also going to be able to deliver better solutions. So with the focus, you can actually make your solution the best or only option with that niche because engineering bandwidth is targeted at only one problem, which is going to beat the engineering bandwidth being targeted at multiple problems. As well as that, you're going to be able to have potent messaging and marketing. So you're actually going to be able to create messaging that is completely on another level compared to other people, again, who are targeting multiple niches, because you're going to be able to speak directly to a singular person. So what that gives you is a higher ROI, better click-through rates, higher lead conversion rates, lower CPD, lower CPL, lower CPM, et cetera, purely because poor focus in marketing is the thing that is actually going to drop efficiency. On top of that, you're going to have lethal sales and conversion mechanisms because salespeople and automated funnels actually function best when they are targeting one person and delivering a singular offer. So salespeople can get really, really good at converting these people because they're selling one thing to one person, because they can target and they can really deeply understand this person, understand their fears, their desires, and sort of help them buy in the most efficient way. Or this sort of provided it gives you a bit of a moat or monopoly over the market because competitors aren't going to be able to touch you because they know you're focused on just one thing. And they're not necessarily going to be wanting to get in your market because they know they're going to have to be more obsessed than you, which they won't be. But one thing is, beware that the niche is not set in stone. So as you continue, you're going to need to adjust the marketing to retarget the high end as you collect more data from the sales calls and the customers as you grow. So you're kind of merging yourself into product market fit continually every day as you're getting feedback from the sales team, as you're getting feedback from the ads, et cetera, because you never want to guess. You only want to listen to the hard and fast data and then react to what the data is telling you. Does that make sense? So the more clarity you have around the ideal customer, the better you're going to be able to target them and create messaging that pierces through the noise. So that's a progressive and dynamic process. So after we've got all that done, then we need to run some initial tests. So what you need to do is basically check the messaging that you created in step 1 and see what the costs associated with getting the offer in front of people will be without the viral effects. So this can be done with outbound messages like cold emails, cold DMs, cold calling, through an audience with an ad. All these options. So if you don't get a baseline, you're just going to be going in blind and you won't be able to adapt as quickly quickly when you launch properly without a control. So a control is essentially an element in an experiment that remains unchanged or unaffected by the other variables. So you can see there, it's where the biofertilizer is not sprayed versus when the biofertilizer is sprayed. So you're conducting an experiment dynamically and changing the variables until we get an inflection point in terms of growth, which is the hockey stick point where we're converting, and then we spike up, and that's when we find that resonance and we strike a nerve within the market. Does that make sense? So we're looking for that nerve. We're sort of poking around. It's like, where is this nerve? And then once you hit it, you're really going to feel it. So the reason that we want to use ads is because they work faster. So you can spin up a funnel, test the CPMs, and actually generate calls with the target market without any warm-up or delay. And then once you have the calls, you can continue the market research whilst getting the information about the costs and getting the figures in place. So you can hit a few birds with one stone there and get some clear expectations about the developing baseline CPM. So that's cost per 1,000 impressions. We're looking without viral effects, obviously. And then you can also determine the claim and the evidence that you're going to need to provide to get the prospect to take action and actually book a call and actually show up to the call. On top of that, once we eventually solve that messaging, we're going to get meetings and conduct the discovery calls to learn more about the prospect and test a bit about our protocol, offer, and copy. So once we get this phase, we basically understand the exact pain points, desires, roadblocks that our market's facing, and then we can use that in the sales process as we ramp up. So this is actually a big part of the next step, which is creating the sales letter or the banger. So we need to make banger ads. That's what we're here to do. We need to make a viral ad and we need to push that to the market. So now that we have a deep understanding of the market and the buyers that we want, we can create the banger. So this is by far the most important phase in any business. It's the highest point of leverage, simply because everything stems from it. So you can see down there the tree of life. So without nailing the sales letter, prospects will be even more confused than before. And that would just leave you with the same ads outbound, cost per lead as the rest of the market. So not only do we need to execute this, but we need to execute it at an extremely high level. So essentially the sales letter is the tree of life by which every other element of the business is formed. So the SOP, sales script, sales training, we've been through this. It becomes the ads, the outbound, the asset to referrals, the pre-call, it becomes everything. So it encapsulates the entire business. So you can imagine that this is the highest point of leverage because it's going to impact so many different things. So the way that we actually create these is iterative, so which means that it involves iteration since the market sentiment and technology available is going to change over time. So you need to continually adapt the ad to keep it in its highest profitable state. And this is a hyper efficient process. So especially during stressful times is when we need the viral dynamic ad. A single person is creating this using limited budget and lean testing techniques to validate the cost per lead, sale, and write the letter. So the process is very, very fast because it's one person rapidly finding resonance and you can create results in actually under a week. So the process yanks you to the top of the market where there is the most profit. So the process also accounts for the interdependence between the marketing and the product results and the iterative nature of getting to a viral offer. So what this means is that as you are writing the sales letter, the product is actually evolving. So in order for the piece to go viral, it needs to provide value, which is the dependent on the uniqueness and utility of the points within it, as well as the way in which it's communicated. So if you're not having valuable stuff in it and you're not sort of doing it in a compelling manner, no one's going to share it. No one's going to watch it. It's just going to fizzle out. So in general, if one cannot write useful points or teach the customer something in a viral letter, then the product they create will be disconnected from the market and they're not going to get product market fit, let alone all of the great efficiency hacks that we can get. So the focus of the letter is to make it extremely useful. But it is an extremely rigorous process, so we do need to account for the lifestyle protocol as we are creating these as well. And furthermore, other copywriting processes are actually not as robust as this. So this works in any offer, any situation with any amount of starting capital. The inputs are only technology, which is free because I'm sure you have a phone or a laptop or whatever it may be. You just need to learn how to apply it, as well as the calories that actually go into it. So of course, we are assuming here that you have the sales skills so that you can rapidly get on the phone and get the feedback from the prospects and customers. So with writing these sales letters without the process, it can be extremely challenging, especially if you're not a full-time direct response copywriter. It's going to take a lot of calories and a lot of work. There's some great copywriting content out there, but none of it is really that useful since the ad platforms are quite new. The other resources that we see on the market right now don't really account for the process of writing sales letters that intertwines with getting feedback through the online ad platforms, as well as doing the sales calls and doing rapid iterations. So what we've got in this prospect process is we actually do that. They also don't account for the feedback from the market that influences the offer as well as the overall margins. So this process does that for you as well. Because the truth is that to write a viral dynamic sales letter, what you need to do direct response copy at the highest level and get the highest returns is to constantly iterate the price and the offer until there is a fit. So as I mentioned, there's going to be that nerve where it just goes absolute. And the North Star is what needs to be the profit metric here. So this process accounts for that as well. So one needs to be able to rapidly transpose their sales letter to video and test it on platforms using paid ads, which requires a completely other set of skills that is not accessible to everyone. Things working as well, you not only need a process that works with the most recent technology, but you also need feedback from someone who's actually written these viral sales letters before as well, since they can save you a lot of time and hassle. So if you can follow a process, test, and get feedback, you can pretty much get to writing bangers for yourself very, very quickly and efficiently. So what you do is you first start by determining the most profitable segment using a profit per customer per unit of time formula. If we don't focus on the top of the market, we're not going to get the maximum yield. So once we determine the target and direction, we create a headline that's going to cut through the noise in the market and use an efficient testing method to find that headline. So once we have the headline working, we can test the offer on calls and by talking to prospects and determine the precise situation they're in. And then we use that information to craft the viral sales letter. So once we have the first draft of the sales letter, we can test it and validate that it converts, and as well as the price of the offer getting us an amazing return. So if that's good to go, you update the long form sales letter and push traffic to the machine until the yield breaks, and then again, you create another sales letter. So as you continue, you'll continually need to update the sales letter and add segments to it to make it more engaging, read better, and also ensure that the arguments are not raising unanswered questions. So as the iterations are forming, you post them to YouTube with tweaked messaging. So recording this actually helps with ensuring that the cadence is correct, as well as allowing us to get feedback in the comments, as well as gathering organic traffic using YouTube SEO techniques. So as you're getting the sales letter validated, you can actually invest more resources into production, but in the early stages, all you need to do is have a good microphone and a little bit of a webcam to record. So keep the fancy editing for a bit later. First off, let's just get recording, let's get things rolling, and then fancy stuff later. After that, you're going to get traffic. So you're going to get people booking in calls. So you're getting leads from a mix of cold outbound, organic content, and paid ads. So you need to build a sales process. So what you want to do is focus on one channel first, just because unless you have deep experience, it's going to be very difficult to manage all these things at once. And not all the channels are necessary in the beginning if you're just starting out. But this is going to depend on your offer and sort of where you're at in terms of your skill level. But using them all together is like steroids for your pipeline. So that's like the secret juice that the guy at the top was having. So what you want to do is for outbound prospecting, you use the sales letter as a CTA. So you say, mind if I send more info in the prospecting letter and then send them the sales letter? But you ask for permission first because it's cold. You don't want to just unsolicitedly send people random stuff. So after that, you're sending them a condensed version of the sales letter to incentivize them to book a call. And because it's cold, you kind of want to just run them through and say, hey, is this interesting to you? Then send the sales letter and just continually rope them in and get them sort of closer and closer into the funnel and just run them down. So what you want to do is send 100 messages per day. You want them to be super personalized and then bolster these efforts with automated and targeted cold email and cold LinkedIn. So after reading the sales letter, you want these people to be warm. You want them to be going from cold to warm using the sales letter. And in this phase, it's especially key that the letter is captivating. So you're going to get results like this. So hi, Leo, pick a time from your calendar. So you send them sales letter and then they just book in. You don't even ask for them to book in. It works extremely well. For ads, what you do is you post a condensed sales letter to the Meta platforms and offer the sales letter as the lead magnet. You're data capturing, you're incentivizing them to book a call, etc., etc. Again, works extremely well. And then in the organic content, you post a video sales letter to YouTube with SEO optimized scripts and descriptions to get more traffic. So here's an example of that. You can see here, this sales letter got 300,000 views, and it was about 5 months ago. That converted quite well. And then you can also use two-step programs on LinkedIn or Twitter. So you can see the example here, and you send the video sales letter and set appointments in the DMs after that. So this was an example. I think this one got about 100,000 impressions on that offer right there. So the sales process here, as you can see, is just a function of getting eyes on the sales letter and making sure that the prospects are reading it. So it just depends really on which channels are going to be most effective for the offer. Then after that, you go through it with them on the call as the pitch, and you're basically just checking which parts are resonating, and basically just making sure that you don't need to change any of the parts and make adjustments on the fly. So you're walking the prospect through the sales letter, ensuring that they buy into each step. So what you want to do is you want to temperature check them during the process and ask them if they agree to buy into the idea. So once you have them sold, all you need to do is close them. So closing an already sold prospects is just answering questions, but you just need to make sure they're sold with the sales letter first. After that, all you need to do is reiterate the benefits and the guarantees and start collecting cash. But if the prospect doesn't understand, they don't agree, or they just have low level of interest, it is very key that you need to adapt this to the market and solve those problems. Because if you aren't constantly iterating, you're going to lose resonance and the market is going to move on. Important notes here is that you need to begin with founder-led sales. Founders and execs should be able to validate the sales process themselves, and then they record the demos they're doing and refine the deck before they're hiring a junior rep. And then the junior rep starts as an SDR or an appointment setter. And while they're learning the ropes and shadowing founders, they're just setting appointments, bolstering the calendar, getting comfortable whilst we make an in-depth sales script because that's extremely necessary to standardize the process, and then they can ramp up. So pricing and terms are pretty close to converging to market needs, and the rep should be paid extremely well in this stage because we're just getting ramped up and you're just getting started. At this point, you need to run a check on operations. So you're going to have a pretty significant pipeline. You're going to have clients rolling in. The biggest problem is that you're going to need to continue to fulfill your service at a high level in order to keep the business afloat. Because if you scale too quickly, you're not going to be able to maintain pipeline health or improve the product because you're just going to be caught up in fulfillment. So as a result, you leave yourself at risk to being beaten by competitors over time who can fulfill at a more efficient rate than you. So you need to prepare for more scale. As you accumulate case studies, you're adding them to the sales letter and making them more powerful, which is going to attract even more clients. So you need to make sure that you're recruiting technology, maybe train AI or automation, adding employees, ramping them up with the sales letter as the training, or iterating the product so you can handle the scale. So the best case scenario here is creating a secondary, more detailed sales letter that acts as an SOP to train any additional employees and have them use AI, and then they train the AI with the sales letter as well in order to handle more clients. So in 2023, this is going to be huge. The companies that can leverage AI code as well as employees who act as operators of the AI are going to win. At this point, it's just a matter of pouring fuel on the fire. So gasoline, this is where we want to run the ads. Everything's validated, process is down, operations are on point, everything's looking good. All you need to do is pour fuel on the fire. So you post the validated sales letter to the ad platforms and let it out into the metaverse. You basically release it to space and let it just run its course. Because if the letter is validated properly beforehand, you're going to gain traction on ads. And you're going to see it get those comments, get those saves, get those shares, and potentially even get some people organically reposting it if you're lucky. So at this point, you just need to keep testing on sales calls and making sure that the letter resonates and people are buying at a profitable cost per acquisition and you're getting an ROI. You will also need to add in systems to maximize the lead. So here you can use some email marketing. You can use different campaigns for different scenarios, such as a lead that didn't book, a book demo, a no-show, a long-term follow-up or sales letter. You're basically using email marketing to just scrounge the most possible cash you can from the lead. So you can set this up through a CRM like Close.io or an email sending software like ActiveCampaign or Klaviyo or MailChimp or one of these. Because if you can't maximize every cent, you're not going to be as agile as if you were otherwise. So every dollar actually needs to be accounted for so you can put it back into the system for more ads, more content, or improving the protocol through things like masterminds, coaching, testing, or employees and things that we need for the business to grow. So ramping up this process pretty much requires sales ability. So the sales process is the lifeblood of the business, and what we need to do is install sales reps. So with that, we need to maximize the efficiency. Otherwise, the business bleeds cash. So if you can't take enough calls, you're going to lose leads. You're going to lose the vital information that you were getting on the calls as well. So as you ramp up, again, you're going to be forced to add a sales rep. So it's crucial that this is one of your first hires, number one, and number two, that they're extremely competent. So if they come in and can't close, the entire system is off balance and you are going to blow your ROI. Another thing is that they're commission only. So you want these people to be only eating what they actually kill. So you can't have someone come in and you're paying them, 60, 80, 100, 200 grand a year when they haven't actually delivered results. But these higher level reps will actually go for a commission only role, and it's much more efficient for you, less risk, and they can actually also be compensated better actually at times, but only after they deliver the results. Because in this scenario, you simply cannot afford to hire a beginner or someone with the wrong mindset where they're just looking to make easy cash, et cetera, et cetera. So posting on Facebook groups to get these remote closers who have no experience and are looking to take 2 to 3 calls per day, only have inbound leads and never follow up, are not in the equation. We cannot do that. We can't afford that. We're not going to be doing that. So what you need to do is either run ads to an extremely attractive job posting, use a personal brand to attract leads, hire a recruiting agency that provides you with candidates, or something like that. Because you have to be aware that even a lot of these recruiting agencies are filled with these fat cat closers who are only going to take inbound calls. You have to be very, very careful with this process because you need an end-to-end sales killer who's going to be able to handle the entire process alongside you and act as if it were actually their own business as you ramp up, because you're relying so heavily on them. And obviously, as a result of this, you want them to be paid handsomely. So 15 to 20% commission. And if you can't afford to pay them that, then you're going to need to improve your offer and charge more. Because this is much, much, much less expensive than having an amateur on your team who's going to blow your ROI, and the unit case is going to be thrown off. So if you can actually hire well and lead by example by staying in the trenches, the right candidate is going to be your biggest asset in the early stages. You want to start them off by doing outbound prospecting and then continually train them up using the sales letter whilst you want them messaging and calling the leads on the calendar. They're getting pitching. They're sort of getting comfortable. You're having meetings with them 2 to 3 times per week to make sure they're ramping up and hitting KPIs and they're getting comfortable. And then you can gradually have them taking closing calls and take over the rest of the process. Once you build out more calls and it's getting overwhelming for even them, you want to build out more of a team and you want to make sure that the culture of this team is on point as well. Because again, if they're getting lazy, if you're losing authority, if you're just making them do all the work or their results fall off or they're not feeling good, the entire business suffers because the unit case is thrown off. So what you want to do is you want to have a tracking sheet that's clearly going to show the KPIs, and you're going to have a fun and competitive environment like a sports team. So you want them enjoying it. You want them making money. You want them, generating revenue for the business. And that is actually going to happen when you can push them slightly, but also give them the resources and support to overachieve. So you want them to watch the sales letter continually until it's tattooed in their brain. So they should even start to sort of sound like you when you say it, when you recorded it. You also want to have meetings with them a couple of times a week, sometimes even daily as you ramp up, to keep reviewing their calls, make sure morale's high, and just make sure that any underperformance is sort of stamped out, because it can throw off the entire economics of the business. So I cannot stress this enough. It is extremely important to make sure they're closing and efficiently. And the other thing is, outside of the efficiency thing, we also need to look for customers where they're a bit of an anomaly, where the profit per customer per unit of time is higher. So we're looking for these ideal customers in the process, and we're also looking for new technology. So you need these sales reps to be sort of giving you that information and you're giving you feedback on the market, because they are actually the boots on the ground that can see things that you can't see from above the business because you're sort of looking down, but they're actually in the trenches. So if you see them as just a sales rep, you probably have hired the wrong person, or they're the right person and you just don't hold them in high enough accord to respect their feedback. In that case, you're going to make them disgruntled and they're going to underperform or churn. This stage, again, is going to make or break your business. Be very, very intentional about this process. Key points: commission only. Best reps are going to work on a commission-heavy comp plan. That's just the way it goes. They want to be compensated for what they generate. You also want to automate the training as much as you can. So online videos, recorded demos, lethal sales scripts, sales letter reading, etc., etc. You also want to start them end-to-end using outbound prospecting, and then they're going to actually value the opportunities when they do get to close the deals, more so than if they just waltzed in, jumped on the calendar, et cetera, et cetera. You want to give them 6 weeks to prove themselves. Then at that point, if they're not performing, you drop them. You also want to pay them really well, 100 to 300K per year, whatever percentage of the deals that's going to be. And you want to incentivize a quick ramp time with bonuses and strict deadlines, hire and fire fast. Pretty simple stuff. And then once you have that, you're achieving scale. So once the system is in place and validated, you're increasing the budget of your ad campaigns so all the calendars are full and the yield on the ad campaigns are maintained. So double the budget every single day until it breaks. At this point, you add in organic content to increase the efficiency of the paid channels, and that's in the form of a YouTube sales funnel. So buyers are going to see the ad, go to YouTube, and consume some content and then book a call ready to buy. This is a similar mechanism to a regular funnel that you might have heard of before, but it's in a more open forum, which is suited to the metaverse. This is also actually going to bolster your ad efforts because the algorithm is going to favor you because you're posting to the platform, you're helping the platform grow, and you're seen as a good entity. Basically, the YouTube videos there are variations of the sales letter. So the first half of the sales letter is going to change based on market sentiment. You're going to update it continually. And then the back half of the sales letter is not going to change. You also want to SEO optimize these to gather organic traffic and post 2 to 3 times per week to increase the efficiency of the campaign. And then over time, you're probably going to gain more and more traction and grow a bit of an audience. You can also bolster that by finding a short form editor and having them distribute the clips to the short form platforms and drive more traffic to the long form. So they're just basically more ads and they're just variations of the sales letter that can get distributed, get more eyeballs, get more sales. Pretty much the Brunson method, the Hormozi method, the Guardsy method, et cetera, et cetera. All these guys that have come in and dominated online business have used this. At that point, you want to add in email marketing. So you really want to bolster this, sending case studies, drip feeding the sales letter, sending them value, et cetera, just to book more calls. Again, adding that efficiency. And you're probably going to build a bit of a community around this content because you're getting all this traction, you're running all these ads, you're making all this valuable content, and then you want to bring them to a school group, a Discord, a Slack, a Telegram, somewhere they can congregate wherever best for your offer. And then you want to add community managers as appointment setters to check in with the members, set them on the calendar, and continue this market research process. So you want to nurture this community as well. Content, giveaways, live calls, benefits, et cetera, and then also drive them towards a call. And then you're also posting stories on social platforms once per day. You're adding short variations of the ad. You're updating creative here and there. And you're also maybe even getting the VSLs edited and produced by a professional since you have a higher budget at this point. Because once you have this validated process, it's just a matter of squeezing the maximum juice out of it. So you want to push this to the absolute limit. So what we've done here is essentially creating the force required for a tidal wave. And then all you need to do at that point is just sit on that wave and just ride it out until it's finished. So every single morning, you want to market, review feedback, write and record YouTube videos, write and record sales letters, basically do all your deep marketing, all the really mentally taxing stuff. And then in the afternoon, you're selling and testing the marketing at the sales letters on the sort of in the trenches. And then on the weekend and at night, you are improving the product and basically improving the protocol. So what you want to do is constantly search for new ways to make your solution better. And trust me, this will work. You will make copious amounts of cash, just like all my clients do. The first option that you have is pretty much to do this alone. So you can do this. Absolutely, you can do this. However, everything that I outlined, you'll have to learn. So you basically run through all that stuff, learn that stuff in depth. You're probably going to waste a bit of cash on ads, testing the sales letter. Your prospecting is probably going to be unleveraged. You're probably going to churn through mediocre sales reps and maybe stumble your way to success in 2 to 3 years. But that's still going to be a great outcome depending on how fast you basically want to reach resonance and success. The second option is probably going to be faster, but more expensive. So you're going to outsource the process. This is probably going to cost about $100K between the copywriter, the product engineering, sales process, sales reps, media buying, operations manager, etc. Probably going to have to deal with multiple agencies, probably have huge retainers, and you probably can have low communication levels between them all. And then efficiency would take a hit, but you would get there. You would get there faster than option one if you have the cash. The third option, which is my favorite option, is use the soft run system. So merge sales acumen with viral marketing, and we build this entire system for you in-house at a fraction of the cost. Again, that's only for people who want to be at the top of their market and build an empire around their offer. This is not really for people that sort of don't really care about efficiency and speed, or they like charging 2K retainers to clients. This is people that want to find the fastest possible fastest path to resonance, You want to basically dial in your messaging and segments such that your communication lights folks up like a Christmas tree. You want to fill the pipeline. You want those floodgates to open. You will be able to leverage technology and AI softwares available to maximize the efficiency. You're also going to be able to validate a profitable unit case in the shortest amount of time possible. And it's likely that investors are going to start taking you golfing because you're so profitable. You've got this cash flow machine. They want to put the moves on you a little bit. You also are going to shorten your sales cycle. So you're going to get 50K deals, 1, 2 call close, maybe 3 call, but you're going to have red hot prospects. You're also going to find a new gear of work ethic and motivation. So magic's going to start to happen. You're going to have the best possible shot at building a multi-million-dollar profitable business that's going to help you support you and your family. And you're also going to be able to feel proud when you talk about your business. So your team members are also going to see the change in you and work even harder since you have a clear direction. You're going to see a steady climb in the accounts. So how it works. Number 1, product validation. So before, when you wanted to build a product, you would have an idea and then basically hope the market wants it. So you're going to identify a market where there is an offer and then probably copy it or, just make a little iteration and then hope that the market wants it. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to help you formulate your laser offer and the targeting to generate hot girl demand, as we talked about, right away, and then skip the guesswork and uncertainty. We're also going to show you where to find them and exactly how to target them and help you with the copy involved. So we're going to use our copywriting frameworks alongside your market knowledge to help you not only build the product into something that's going to sell, but also to begin testing the statistics involved. The second part of it is the asset creation. So normally, as I mentioned, you're going to have to probably engage a super expensive copywriter or you're probably going to have to find a cheap amateur. Instead of that, what we're going to do is we're going to help you generate the viral ad, the sales letters, the case studies, sales pages, VSLs, webinars, quiz pages, calendar scripts, blogs, YouTube video scripts and production, LinkedIn content, LinkedIn profiles, Facebook templates, all this stuff. We're going to basically plug and play our proven frameworks to help you do that. The third part of it is the outbound prospecting side. So instead of using cold email and DM scripts that are outdated and barely work and basically hitting leads that are getting emailed 1,000 times a day with the same stuff, we're actually going to help you we're going to create you an outbound email and LinkedIn message sequence that's also integrated with the sales letter and help you with your domain automation and setup. So we're also going to give you the discovery script and process, the data mining and validation. We can help you hire SDRs so you can plug and play what's already working in the market at real time. Next, we're going to use the sales process and script, the demo deck, the ROI justification, reference letters, offer sheets, pre-call warm-up protocol, follow-up cadence, CRM integration. We're going to help you find and hire the best reps and also help you manage the salespeople to make sure that all the traffic we get converts at a high percentage. So this is going to save you thousands of dollars in lost deals. And we're going to use our processes to laser in on efficiency from the start and hit those KPIs as soon as possible. You're also going to have a consistent and reliable process to close the leads that you get. And you're going to have clarity about where the next deal is going to come from. That's a big part of this. The fifth part is we're going to use our proven opt-in pages, long-form ads, short-form video ads, account and pixel setup, audience identification, ad angle identification, experiment parameters, reporting, and unit economics to run ads extremely profitably. So we're going to have zero guesswork. We're going to run and validate these ads for you and optimize your retargeting and create iterations of the ad so you can get up to 50 to 100x ROI on these ads and make it absolutely rain. That's the goal here. The sixth part of it is instead of scrambling to fulfill every time you sign a client and waiting until the system breaks, we're going to help you build an SOP letter that outlines the exact action steps in minute detail for your team to be trained and execute on. So we're going to help you build a product that actually scales using our KPIs. So you're going to know when to put your foot on the gas and when to slow down. So you're going to have confidence that the machine that we build is going to be able to get you to the levels you know you're capable of. The seventh part and the final part is the content machine. So this is the scale. This is the real scale. So instead of knowing you probably should post content, but never actually doing it, or maybe even being afraid of posting content, we're going to give you the frameworks to leverage the sales letter into YouTube videos, tweets, LinkedIn posts, etc., etc. Because the more eyeballs we get on the sales letter, the better. So ads and outbound are going to work far better with the organic content up, and we're going to be pushing the ad to go viral over time in tandem with the organic stuff. So at its peak, the cost per lead is going to be zero. So the people are going to discuss your content in the group chats, in the cafe. They're going to share it organically. Word of mouth is going to run wild. So you're going to focus on systems and fulfillment and the high leverage stuff rather than prospecting and sales calls. So your business is actually going to grow to levels that you didn't even think possible. Like think 2 to 3 to 4x what you had in mind. That's the potential here. So we also have a guarantee of at least 3 to 5 sales calls per week within 3 months. And we have a guarantee of a positive return on advertising. So there's very, very little risk involved if you have a good offer. So if this resonates with you and this is something that you would like implemented in your business, then book a call here. I'll drop the link somewhere on this video, and I'll hope to speak to you soon. Have a good one.